It sneaks in so quietly, like a ninja in the night. You don't even remember the moment it all shifted, but somewhere between childhood and today, you realized that peace is a prize to be actively won. You learned affection is a fickle friend and that love is less about deserving and more about doing good. Maybe it was a withering look from dad when you dared to speak your mind, or that icy silence from mom when you dropped the ball. The rules were unspoken, but they clearly came with heavy consequences. Each frown or sigh felt like a lead weight in your chest, a sinking feeling you promised to avoid at all costs. Thus began the journey of the people pleaser, a language you picked up before you could even string together a coherent sentence. Not born of kindness or generosity, but as a survival tactic. When your sense of belonging hinges on keeping others content, you grow to believe that harmony is solely your responsibility. Suddenly, fixing moods and filling silences becomes your new normal, even when you're a whirlwind of chaos inside. Hey everyone, welcome to Psychologist Jeep, the corner of the internet for overthinkers, quiet feelers, and those who spent their whole childhood trying to be good so no one would get upset. If you've ever wondered why you apologize too much, hesitate to say no, or freeze the moment someone raises their voice, well, that's what happens when parents unknowingly train you to be an obedient child. Not out of malice, but out of patterns that still echo inside you today. Before we dive deeper, take a second to like the video, share it with someone who might need it, and drop a comment telling us your thoughts or where you're listening from. Your voice matters here. Let's explore the mind together, one honest truth at a time. Here's the gut-wrenching truth, though. For many, pleasing others started as a small child's bid for love. To the outside world, people pleasers look like the warm-hearted do-gooders, the generous souls. But below that cheerful exterior lies a tornado of fear. The thought of losing love if they dare to say no fuels their compliance. They twist and turn, masking anger with smiles and agreeing when they're dog-tired, often apologizing for transgressions they didn't commit. Each concession drags them further away from their true self. Your nerves may not have gotten the memo that you're no longer that powerless child. Oh no, they cling desperately to those ancient lessons. Scolded in childhood, you learned to zip it. Arguments taught you that feelings could be dangerous, while the unspoken rules screamed for you to be agreeable and compliant. Those moments in time crafted your blueprint for existence. The brain operates on association, and when safe means silent, you quickly learn to follow suit. If being a good kid meant becoming invisible, so be it. Your identity morphs into a reflection of everyone else's expectations, a clever coping mechanism that outlasted its initially scary environment. But guess what? This coping strategy doesn't drop away like last season's trends, even as you grow up. Your body might still silently scream danger. When someone looks disappointed, flooding you with anxiety and prompting you to maintain that obligatory smile. Take a moment to reflect on how often you nod along when you're screaming inside. Picture those instances where you agree just to dodge any conflict. How often do you play back conversations like a broken record, endlessly searching for any slip-up you might have made? These aren't signs of weakness, they scream of deep-rooted conditioning. And for many, it all began with emotionally distant parents who swung from highs to lows like a pendulum. Shifting from affection to abandonment in a blink made you the vigilant radar for their emotional storms. So here you are, navigating the world with that finely tuned emotional antenna, always ready to shield yourself from the unpredictable weather of someone else's mood. You've become a human barometer, dedicating yourself to keeping the peace and missing out on the authenticity of your own existence. In this roller coaster of emotions, it's easy to forget that what you truly need is to tap into your own feelings, reclaim your voice, and step into the power of simply being yourself. You find yourself skillfully adapting your behavior to match the fluctuating moods of those around you. Each sigh, eye roll, or whispered comment is meticulously dissected for clues on how to exist in harmony. Before you know it, You morph into a quieter version of yourself, one who is entirely agreeable and avoids trouble like it's a bad blind date. This transformation sneaks up on you as your emotional landscape shrinks, lost in the maze of others' expectations. Your desires become mere whispers beneath the weight of the learned belief that your needs are too extra for comfort. With every polite smile you flash and every joke you throw out, your real feelings are tucked away, creating a cozy little hideout for the peacekeeper you've become. Everyone adores you for this untroubled facade, but meanwhile, you're holding your breath tighter than a contestant on a reality show. That's when the exhaustion kicks in, masquerading as kindness while you wonder how many more smiles it takes before someone sees your reality. People often mistake this constant state of giving as virtuous. "I just care too much," they declare, or "I don't like conflict," as if these phrases somehow mitigate the fears that underpin their behavior. The truth is, the haunting thought lingers that ceasing your efforts might mean losing everyone. This is the grind of the fawning trauma response, where instead of fighting back or fleeing, you become the human marshmallow, soft, squishy, and willing to absorb all the eeriness in the room just to keep the peace. As the days turn into a blurry carousel of appeasement, you begin to notice how this habit seeps into every interaction. Your friendships morph into a series of transactions where you're seen as the go-to fixer rather than a person with needs of your own. You think that if you can just be calm enough or accommodating enough, people will finally appreciate your worth. Instead, what happens is a sad little expectation game where your goodness transforms from a gift to a burden of responsibility. And here's the kicker: being the ever-compliant folks pleaser doesn't guarantee love, it simply cultivates comfort. And while comfort can feel nice, it's fleeting. Love, dear friend, is the real deal. It's the unfiltered acceptance that blooms in the daylight. By crafting yourself to fit others' molds, you're subtly robbing people of the opportunity to love the real you. If you never pull back the curtain, how can anyone fully embrace who you are? Perhaps that's why, despite being the social butterfly, you occasionally find yourself feeling lonely. Let's face it, love maintained through compliance isn't genuine. It's more like a magician's trick, flashy but lacking real substance. Now, how does one escape this tangled web? First and foremost, you must embark on the daunting journey to unlearn what your childhood adopted as law. It's no picnic. Confronting the uncomfortable reality that your parents may have had a skewed perception of love is tough. Their good intentions didn't come with a guarantee of happiness, and sometimes quiet was code for obedient. Now, it's high time you acknowledged that even unintentional pain leaves deep marks. You can extend forgiveness to your family while still recognizing the consequences of their actions on your present. That's right. Every time you opt to silence your own needs for someone else's comfort, you're merely echoing a story from yesteryear. Why not replace it with a fresh narrative? Embrace the idea that asserting yourself isn't an act of cruelty but an invitation to authenticity. Setting boundaries may feel strange at first, but they're the bricks forming the bridge to a healthier you. Disappointing people isn't the end of the world. It's actually the beginning of something fantastic, honestly. Think about it. When you stop bending over backward to please everyone, you open the door to genuine growth. It's a wild ride, but hey, isn't it time to get real? You don't have to earn love by putting on a performance. It's about showing up as your true self, flaws and all. Trust me, authenticity is a magnet for the right kind of connection. Now, don't get me wrong, taking off that mask can feel like diving headfirst into a tornado without a life jacket. But guess what? That fear signals change, and it's okay to feel a bit wobbly. Your instincts may scream to retreat back to the comfort of old behaviors, but resist that urge. Remember that courage isn't just the absence of fear, it's doing the scary thing anyway. Each time you stand your ground, your body learns you're safe, and that's a pretty compelling revelation. Every truth you disclose only reinforces this newfound understanding. The moment someone accepts your honesty, you're smashing the old wiring that told you love is something you have to chase. It's a gradual shift, but before you know it, you'll see that love isn't a prize at the finish line. It's a journey you can build with courage and integrity. Your mission isn't to keep everyone else blissfully happy. It's to cultivate your own wholeness. Starting this healing gem isn't about repeatedly saying no to others. It's about enthusiastically saying yes to yourself. Yes to rest, yes to your quirks, and yes to that cherished inner peace. When you liberate yourself from the burden of managing others' feelings, that's when you can finally delve into your own emotional universe. It's underneath those layers of compliance and everything's fine that you'll rediscover your original self, the one untainted by fear. The truth is, your tendency to please isn't a sign of being broken. Nope, it's actually a badge of honor. You've learned empathy through chaotic circumstances, and that intuitive ability to read others is like having an emotional superpower. So, don't think about dialing back your kindness. Instead, focus on unleashing it. True kindness thrives not in fear, but in the glorious display of being authentically you, regardless of how it makes others feel. As you embark on this journey from compliance to real connection, little shifts start to transform your interactions. You'll learn to appreciate the power of a well-placed boundary. Saying no? That's not rejection. It's a direct path back to what truly matters. Healing from the habit of pleasing is akin to learning a brand new language, one that prioritizes truth over approval. Sure, it's messy at first. You'll trip over your words and feel guilt whenever you assert those tiny boundaries. But the key is persistence. Each small no is paving the way for a magnificent yes. The crux of all this isn't about how to make others adore you. It's about whether you can stand tall and like yourself even when they don't. When you nail that answer with a resounding yes, congratulations, you've unearthed freedom. In the next chapter, we'll journey into how your childhood experiences shape your adult relationships and discover the roadmap to breaking free from emotional dependencies. Get ready for that adventure. The toughest part of recovering from the habit of pleasing others isn't so much about setting boundaries. It's grappling with the subsequent quiet. If you've spent ages being the go-to person for everyone's needs, hitting the brakes comes as a jolt. Suddenly, people notice your absence. They back away or raise eyebrows, and some even get huffy. It's painful. You thought your relationships were a two-way street, but it turns out they were more of a one-way alley, just reliant on your constant validation. This moment of realization often sends people pleasers on a guilt spiral. The internal dialogue starts to spiral. Wait, am I being selfish now? But here's the truth. You're not. You're not wrong for wanting your needs to be acknowledged. You're simply accustomed to being overlooked. The tough truth is that the healing process begins with grief. Grieving the love you thought you had, that childhood where selling your soul felt like the only way to attain peace, and the relationships that only thrived on your unwavering support. As you begin this journey, acknowledging your loss is crucial. Part of that grief involves acknowledging the uncomfortable realization that you've been conditioned to feel like your needs were a burden. Unfortunately, this toxic mindset doesn't just evaporate. It sticks around like that one friend who doesn't know when to leave a party. It surfaces in subtle ways, feeling the need to apologize for nothing, brushing off your successes to avoid making anyone uncomfortable, and over-explaining when you simply want to say no. These familiar habits mask deep-seated misconceptions about love and self-worth. For far too long, you've likely believed that love is a scoreboard based on good behavior that you earn by not being an inconvenience. This mindset turns you into a true chameleon, seamlessly fitting into everyone else's ideas and expectations. But in doing that, you might have lost sight of who you truly are. It's no wonder when confronted with the simple question, "What do you want?" you find yourself stammering. After years of putting others first, you've become fluent in their emotions, while your own feelings fall silent. Think back to your childhood. Your parents were your everything. You relied on them for your most basic needs. Any inconsistency or conditionality in their love gets your little brain spinning in self-doubt rather than questioning their actions. It's a harsh realization, but kids often think, if my parents aren't satisfied, then I must not be good enough. Thus begins a noble quest to prove your worth, striving to be the perfect student, friend, and partner, all desperately trying to hold on to love. However, this quest is underpinned by a painful wound that whispers incessantly, "You're only lovable if you're useful." This belief shapes your identity, leading you to equate peace with control, making you attuned to the moods of those around you. This vigilance, masked as empathy, roots itself in instinct, urging you to keep others happy as if that's the secret handshake to safety. Sadly, this is not real security. It's merely a form of self-abandonment that breeds anxiety. As a result, you may feel a nagging sense of anxiety even when everything seems fine. The body becomes conditioned to distrust calmness, always scanning the horizon for the first sign of trouble. Chaos, no matter how inconvenient, becomes a familiar rhythm. Your nervous system remains on high alert, feeding on the memory of discontent, whispering, "Keep things placid, or the storm might return." Ultimately, the journey ahead is to reclaim your right to peace, a tall order when chaos feels so cozy. Love can be a real roller coaster, can't it? You desperately seek it while simultaneously clutching the safety bar, terrified of the plunge. The truth? Real love demands honesty, boundaries, and the courage to show your true self. Unfortunately, what we're raised to believe is that showing the real you is a bit like entering a lion's den, risky business. So when someone genuinely tries to love you, you instinctively retreat, worried that exposing your true self will send them running for the hills. This charade keeps you in a constant performance mode, striving to please everyone around you. But here's the kicker: your relationships end up feeling emptier than a sealed tofu package. It's not that people don't care. It's just that you're not really there, only a version of you that's been sanitized and pre-approved. That's the sneaky price tag on pleasing people. You end up disconnected, not only from others but from your very self. And suddenly, life seems about as exciting as watching paint dry. Picture this: you're in a crowded room, surrounded by faces but feeling more invisible than a ninja in the dark. You might get showered with compliments for being so accommodating, but deep down, you feel like a ghost haunting your own life. How can anyone appreciate the real you when you've put that person in a witness protection program? Rethinking things starts to feel like climbing a mountain, but let's break that down together. The first step in this rocky journey is deciphering kindness from mere compliance. Kindness springs from a place of freedom, like a bird soaring in the sky, while compliance is rooted in fear, kind of like a cat avoiding a bath. When you choose kindness, you feel fantastic. But when you bend over backward to avoid disappointing others, it can feel as draining as running a marathon without any training. So pause for a moment. Am I doing this because I genuinely want to, or am I just terrified of someone's frown? Boom. Life-altering realization alert. Recognizing this pattern is crucial for rewriting your narrative. Remember, healing from the need to please isn't about becoming an island. It's about achieving that sweet balance between caring for yourself and others. Your feelings and time deserve respect too. You can be the caring friend while also ensuring you're not drained faster than a battery left out in the sunlight. Boundaries are your superhero cape, allowing you to love fiercely without carrying other people's happiness on your shoulders. The catch: when you first start steering the ship of boundaries, it'll feel like you're off course, like a cat avoiding water. Your body may scream rejection, but that's just old programming. It's like a rerun of a bad movie. Every no you assert actually trains your system that honesty fosters connection. Some relationships might fizzle out, and that's totally fine. They were built on shaky sandcastles. But the ones that withstand your newfound honesty, those gems will shine bright because they're rooted in authenticity. With time, you'll experience a transformation that's more uplifting than a double shot of espresso. Peace will stop feeling like a void, and stillness won't seem sinister. You'll ditch the habit of apologizing for existing and focus on liking yourself for the incredible person you are. People-pleasing was never just about others. It was all about finding safety for that vulnerable little one inside you. So go on, embrace her. Loving yourself is the real challenge. It's about diving into that treasure chest of self-worth you've kept under lock and key, instead of chasing after others' affection. It takes work, my friends, to become the adult version of yourself that you've always longed for. With each little step like reminding yourself that no one earns love, they simply reclaim bits of your life. Just think of it as self-repair, like fixing up your favorite old truck with a fresh coat of paint. Ever catch yourself feeling guilty for saying no? That slight twinge is the discomfort of growth, not a crime against humanity. And if someone's miffed because you set a boundary, well, darling, their mood doesn't determine your worth. Just imagine floating along, all zen-like because you realize that being true to yourself is a high-flying adventure. A breath taken mid-over-explaining is like a polite pause button. Remember, you owe no one a justification for your mere existence. How liberating is that? Now, let's chat about parents and their well-meaning but sometimes misguided lessons. They probably imbued you with the notion that you must swallow your feelings lest a sea of emotional chaos erupts. Well, news flash. You're not a kid anymore, and you're totally allowed to rewrite those rules. Choose honesty over harmony, truth over approval. Unleash the real you. When you let go of the mask shaped by their needs, something magical happens. The right people flock to you, embracing your authenticity rather than your compliance. Real love blooms where there's authenticity. It thrives in the soil of mutual respect, with deep roots that don't mind a little wind or rain. Glaring truth, you need to demolish that fragile version of love from your childhood. It's tough letting go of the need to be liked. It can feel like slashing a safety net that's become an emotional straitjacket. Some will label your newfound independence as coldness, but in fact, you're simply finding wholeness. Real connections can't grow in a garden of self-denial. It's time to show up, even when it feels like walking a tightrope over a pit of snapping crocodiles. In this wild journey of self-discovery, you'll likely stumble upon the realization that the harmony you sought outside was patiently awaiting within. Take a moment, especially when that pesky urge to be the fixer-upper surfaces. Instead of diving into overdrive, pause, breathe, and ask what your truth is yearning for. Don't silence that quiet whisper that's been crying out beneath layers of compliance. It's your voice of freedom, your personal maestro calling the shots. Realize this: you don't owe anyone an apology for your existence. Measure your worth by how much truth you can uphold, not by how perfectly you can keep the peace. Perfection is a myth. Ease is overrated. Instead, embrace the beauty of being authentically you and scatter those people's pleaser habits like confetti at a parade. Finally, you deserve friendships and love that don't require a backstage pass for performances or rehearsals. Seek the kind of peace that doesn't keep the silence on speed dial. Reject the notion that you must shrink to fit. Love, in its most genuine form, invites you to shine bright, to return to your truest self loud, vibrant, and unapologetic. This is the pivotal moment where you shed that people-pleasing persona and step boldly back into the spotlight as simply, magnificently you.